Welcome to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast, the show for women who are seeking more fulfillment in life and simply not getting it from their current situation. We focus specifically on careers, but hey, we spend a lot of time in our careers, so making changes here will definitely create an impact in your overall happiness. I'm your host, Simone Morris, and my mission is to empower women to succeed. I believe that in order to powerfully own your career, you must decide and claim that you want to sit in the driver's seat. You must know that you deserve better and be willing to not only do the requisite work, but be willing to go out on a limb to ensure your success. Each episode focuses on profiling a leader who is clearly demonstrating ownership of their career. Join me and my guests as we explore career journeys and bring you actionable strategies to use to get into the driver's seat for your career. Because ultimately, your career is your responsibility. Let's get into the show. Welcome to this week's episode of the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. I am so pleased to have with us today Dawn Reshen-Doty. Dawn is an entrepreneur who is crushing it in the space and a fan. Actually, she's a certified women business enterprise as well as a minority business enterprise. And I first saw Dawn at an event and she was speaking. And as I often do on this podcast, when I'm impressed by someone, I get curious and I want to know their story and I want to bring them to the podcast so that they can share their journey with you as well as advice for being in the driver's seat in their careers. Dawn, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Simone. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, take us on your career journey and give us some of the highlights from your career, if you will.
Sure. I'm CEO of Benay Enterprises. We're a full-service back office bookkeeping and business management firm. We've been in business for 34 years. We're located in Danbury, Connecticut. That's our headquarters. We also have a satellite office in Portland, Maine, and we're pondering opening up an office in London next year. So we have a staff of 15 people, very diverse, talented crew. And my father began the business. I joined him many decades ago. He's since passed, and we've really grown. So our client base is everything from nonprofits to breweries, law firms, foreign entities, all who really want robust financial reporting and recording. And we're still having a great time and enjoying it.
Wonderful. Well, tell us a bit about you, Dawn. So this is a family-owned business, as you said, 34 years. So when did you decide to step into the business? And actually, when did you decide to stay in the business as well?
Well, staying was never a question. Okay. So my background is in diplomacy, actually. And I had worked for the Japanese government. I had worked for the Carter administration as an intern when that wasn't a dirty word. I'd worked for Fujitsu, several real estate companies in their Asian division. I had studied Asian studies and Japanese. And when I joined my father, he was looking for someone to really develop the business. I'm a people person. I love to listen. I love to problem solve. And I come from a family of accountants, so everyone said, you will learn it. And I did. I was, by his side for many years. And I've really grown the business while he was alive and since he's passed. So this is our first $1 million year. I'm very excited. And it's about problem solving for our clients. So they want to have clear, concise financials, and we love to do that. And I'm very happy with what we do, growing our firm, giving young people a chance to often have their first job. We create sort of a boot camp for our interns. And so for me, it's all about giving opportunities. So that's what I really enjoy. And I've been able to incorporate that into what we do.
Well, yeah. So tell me a little bit about you personally, Dawn, and what your belief is in terms of the secret sauce, if you will. You mentioned being $1 million business in what is a somewhat challenging year, if you will. So what is the secret sauce for career success?
I think that for you to be successful, you have to stay true to your moral compass. So that's one thing. Don't compromise your ethics or morals. And I've never done that. Sometimes you even don't take on clients that you feel would be difficult or would not be respectful to your own team. So you have to be protective of the people you have. And for me, it's about creating a family, right? So just like in a family, you're going to have people who grow up and leave the nest. We have young people who come and succeed and then go off. And so I'm not unhappy about that. I'm grateful to have experienced their growth with them, and I always wish them the best. So I really view it as a family and a team. That's how I've always been. I came from a very diverse family of Black, white, Jewish, Catholic, all over the globe family members, and I've sort of brought that family feeling to Benay. So people always talk about, is someone Benay-ish, right? Are they going to fit in our team? And that's someone who works hard, plays hard, is honest, trustworthy, really enjoys what they do, having a sense of humor and camaraderie. And I want to enjoy my 9 to 5 as much as I enjoy the rest of my life. So that's really important. And I think that our staff does as well.
Awesome. So I wonder if you could give our listeners some advice on what it took to get to your position. What are some of the resources that you have leveraged for career success for you personally to move up the ladder and to take the reign of this $1 million business?
It's all about people, and it's about being open and honest. So I always tell, especially our interns, first of all, have a LinkedIn profile. And make sure you use that and stay connected to everyone you meet. So often I will say to people, if you ask someone who you respect, can you tell me your story? Can you tell me your experience? 9 times out of 10, that's very flattering. And they always will, and they'll remember you for having asked. And so I've met many people in many careers, and I've always thought to ask the people that were really interesting to me, tell me about yourself. And those people will be resources and contacts, not just for you as you move through your career, but for your clients, your friends, your family. So if someone says to me, do you know an attorney who does intellectual property? I've got 5. So it depends upon where you are. And those are people that, some of them I've known for 30 years, some of them I met at an event 5 years ago and was truly impressed by them. So stay connected, be open, be honest, look for opportunities, and also ask. My phrase is, if you don't ask, you don't get. So do not be afraid to ask. And oftentimes you can be the biggest block to your success of being concerned that I'm not worthy of it, or no one will take me seriously. If you don't ask for help, if you don't ask for advice, if you don't ask for opportunities, the person who does ask for those things will get it and you won't. So don't defeat yourself before you've even started.
So you're on the other side in terms of being an employer with 15 or so employees, as you mentioned. Give us some help or advice, if you will, on mastering the ASK, mastering the ask. Asking for opportunity. How does one do that successfully? What are your tips in that area?
Well, you have to do your research, right? So you have to be asking the right questions of the right person. So for example, don't ask somebody you just met to be a reference for you. I think that shows that your personality and character is somewhat lacking and you haven't done your homework. I have an intern who started with me 1.5 years ago who I've really gotten to know. And as she's succeeded, first getting a senatorial internship, she's a student at a historical Black college, and now applying to law school, I was the perfect person to ask for a reference because I knew her character, I knew her work ethic, I knew her enthusiasm and excitement. So you have to know what you're asking and who you're asking and if it's appropriate or not. And then if you plan on, using that person as a reference, get to know them. So I think that's very important. Then for business, be very honest and say, I'm hoping to achieve X. and I know you have experience. Would you tell me, what your thoughts are on how do I get to the next level? Most people really want to help, but it's about how you ask. So even on LinkedIn, I often find the profiles of people that are very interesting, and I try not to sell them, but rather say, hey, I'm super excited. I read about you in an article or a magazine, or I saw you speak, and let's stay connected here, and I'd love to learn more about you. That person may not be a potential client or a good client, but they could become a good friend or colleague or resource, and vice versa. I might be the same for them.
Wonderful. So how do you develop the patience as an employee or as a business owner to nurture this relationship for fruits of labor, if you will, if you get what I'm saying?
I'm a perfect person to ask that question of.
Wonderful.
So we have a client that I pitched for 10 years, 10 years straight. I would see this business owner at an annual event at one of the local universities where we were both at job fairs. And I would say, would you like to use our services? Here's what we do. And every year he said, I've got somebody, Dawn, thank you, I appreciate it. And literally for 10 years straight, he was on my email list. I would send him Christmas cards. We stayed connected. We'd see each other at events. And 10 years later, the person he had handling his back office bookkeeping retired. At that point, he didn't go out and start looking for other people. He didn't do comparisons. He just said, Dawn, we're ready. So have a very long term. Remember, you're nurturing your brand. You're nurturing what you do. And the reason I love the name Constant Contact is that you have to stay in constant contact with people. Not in some mercenary way, like I'm going to get your business, give me your business, but to say, I'm interested in what you're doing and I hope at some point, we can work together. And that persistence really pays off. So if you ask, how long is my game? At least 10 years out.
Wow. That is impressive. What do you say to the person who is needing to survive during these pandemic times and is needing something in the interim with the model that you're suggesting, which I've heard others say it on the podcast as well. It's all about relationships and nurturing the relationships, not for immediate use, but nurturing it for down the line. So what do you say to whether it's an employee who wants to land because the unemployment numbers are ridiculously high at this point, or a business owner who's trying to survive the pandemic times? What do you say in terms of what to do in the interim as you nurture all your relationships?
I think that, we've been here before. We've been in 2008. And there are ups or downs in every business. I think one of the things you can do is really reach out to your contacts and be honest. So don't put on a great face, when somebody says, how are you doing? And you say, fine, how are you doing? Be very honest and say, things are really tight. Like, I didn't believe I would ever be in this position. Right? People can't be empathetic with you or helpful if you're not real. So that's the first thing. Be honest. Don't be a depressive, like, oh my God, the end has come. And then say, ask for help. So for example, if you have a product or service, you could say, to me, right? So I have a very great database of people who I send out emails to. Would you be willing to try my product or service and talk to your network about it? I would be willing to discount it or even let you do it for free. If you were somebody who provided a service, would you try it out, and see if you like it for X amount of time for free? When it comes to hiring, in the past, I've had people who said, what can I do to get my foot in the door of your business? Can I come in as an intern? And let's see if I could move myself up to be a full-time employee. So I think if you're very honest and you can show willingness to provide value, people are quite impressed by that. I have a friend who has a business that's, struggling right now, and I'm trying to use that business because of our relationship, right? They did the hard work, created the relationship, and now I'm trying to support that business and getting other people to support. But if you don't ask for that help, you are not going to get it.
I love that. Be authentic about where you are on your career journey and be willing to ask for help. I may name your episode Ask for Help. I love that so much. Well, talk to us, Dawn, about risk. How have you embraced risk and how can you use that successfully in your career as a tool?
You're asking a lot of questions that I've been answering for a long time.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
So quite often I will say to people, especially our younger staff who might be fearful of something, or even people coming in for an interview, what is the worst thing that can happen? So the honest thing is death, right? So no one is going to kill you when you ask a question. So once that's taken off the table, you just have to jump, right? You have to be fearless in what you do. So ask for that referral, ask for that opportunity. The worst thing that can happen is no, right? And to me, and I think people have to change their mindset, no doesn't mean forever. It just means not this moment that you asked. So you can say, can I get back to you in a couple of months if I tighten up my resume or tighten up my experience or have more experience or have a different product line? Can I get back to you? I'd love to hear your feedback as to what I'm doing. But if you don't ask, and asking is really like, you can see that's my mantra, right? Asking for things. So if you don't, ask for something, and the worst thing that can happen is no is not going to knock me down. Yeah, my ego is going to be a little hurt, but it's like one of those old toys that used to blow up and you would punch and it would fall back and then it would pop back up. That's how you have to be, that resiliency. If this is what you want to do, whatever it is, whether it's art direction or creating food or manufacturing a product, you have to be resilient. If you love what you do, you will be resilient.
I love that. I love that so much. Where did you get that solid wisdom from, Dawn?
A lot of years of experience and a lot of years of going, oh my gosh, this just happened. And then it doesn't really matter. I think you have to have self-reflection to say, dust it off and move on. And that comes from experience. It comes from failure. It comes from hardship. But what is the alternative? There is no other alternative. You've got to get back up on the horse. You've got to pick yourself back up. If this is what you want to do, there is no alternative. So you just keep moving forward.
Wonderful. Can you talk to us about resources that you have used in your career to help you continue to grow?
So as we discussed, so I'm certified as an MBE and a WBE, both a women and a minority-owned business. And really, I've used people as a resource, right? So any organization that I joined, I made the most of it. So if it's a membership organization, I will learn who all the members are. I will send them an email. I will become connected with them on LinkedIn, and I will introduce myself so that when the next meeting occurs, they're going to know who I am. But I do my research. So I look and see, okay, who's a person that just looks great, I'd like to know and say hello, and who is somebody who might be able to assist me or I might be able to do it. So definitely people are the greatest resource, and you have to be fearless about that, right? So connecting with them. I'm well known for joining any organization, and by the time I get to the first meeting, everyone has heard from me. They've seen my picture on LinkedIn. They've gotten a real email that's been spell checked, and I learned something about them and mentioned it. So I really use people as the greatest resource because they are evergreen, right? There are people that if you put in the time and energy and care and are authentic about it, they're going to be resources today, tomorrow, 10, 20, 30 years from now. I literally just have a client who is in the midst of possibly selling their company, and they hired an attorney to work with. I worked with that attorney 25 years ago. So when they said, they introduced me and said, it's Dawn Reshen-Doty of Benay, that attorney said, I know Dawn. I know. She knows what to expect. I know what to expect from her. And because I did a great job each time my reputation is such that they know the type of service they'll experience when they deal with me, whether it's 20 years later or 2 weeks later. So, you know, giving your best all the time, it pays off in the end.
Yes, I'm hearing different things in your formula for owning your career. I hear a bit around strategy. I think there is strategy involved in joining or leveraging people as a resource, because it takes time for you to do that research and to craft a personalized message to someone so they feel special when they receive it. And you know, some of these organizations can be sizable, so you have to be strategic in terms of your path. So I'm hearing strategy as well as resilience, as well as asking for help. There are many things that you've brought up today that I think is very helpful in terms of owning your career.
I think that if you have something you love to do and you want to make it happen and grow, you've got to put in the time and energy. So you've got to get up before work and spend an hour crafting those emails and sending out LinkedIn things. You have to spend the time going to events pre or post COVID and meeting with people, and don't just go to an event and stand around. Again, to the fearlessness, go up and introduce yourself and ask, what does the other person do, right? So start with a place of giving, and you will always get. So if you go to an event and ask the person, what's your business, what do you do? They're gonna, unless they're a really terrible person, they're eventually gonna go and tell me about you, right? So, you know, you're prepared, you've got your business card, you've got your pitch down, and you've got to put in the work. And it's not work if it's truly what you want to do, right? So I think that if you were to boil down the essence of what I do, it's help people. So I find many different ways of helping people. One of the ways, and the ways that pays money to me and to my staff of 15 people, is by helping them with their financials and bookkeeping. But I also want to help young people get their first step into a job. I want to help people grow. And I want to help the world be a better place by being a good person, by offering help, by being willing to lift people up, give them opportunities. And so helping is what we do. It's the methodology, right? So some people are teachers. Some people are firefighters. But I think a lot of us want to help people. They want to help them grow their brand, sell more. But if you distill it to what you want to do, it's helping people do something. And there are many different ways of doing that. It's like being an octopus. You know, you're going to have lots of arms doing lots of things, but you have to have a core. And so to your first question, it's a core of being a decent human being, of caring about who you are and what you do, and not losing sight of that. So you're not going to do something illegal or immoral because a person or a boss asks you. If you know who you are, then you know what you're capable of and what you're not. And you should be in an organization where they don't ask you to do those things.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so much rich content that we have talked about. Are there any final parting words that you would share in terms of advice for being successful in your career?
I think that you have to find what you really want to do and emulate other people who've done it well, right? So if you want to be a hairdresser, find out whose work you really like, find out how they did it, you know, what were the steps, and use that to your own advantage, right? And create your own community of people who can support you in what you do. So it doesn't matter what your job is. It's about loving what you're doing and sharing that joy. So nobody wants to work with an unhappy person. They all want to work with people who really love being alive and love what they do and find it infectious. So I think if you can show the joy and happiness and creativity in what you do, people will want to be around you. So, you know, I wake up every day. First thing I do is thank God for another day of life, and then try and be the light in the world that I would like to see. And so, you know, try and be the light in your world, whatever world that is, of business and family and personal life. Try and be that light, and you know, it'll happen.
Wonderful. Well, please tell our listeners how they can stay connected with you if they choose to, Dawn.
Sure. So my email is Dawn, DAWN, at Benay, BENAY, EI.com. That's for Benay Enterprises, Inc. So BenayEI.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Dawn Reshen-Doty. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram.
It sounds like you're everywhere. If we hit you on LinkedIn or even on the website,
LinkedIn is the best.
We'll be able to do the octopus out, right?
Right. You've got to be everywhere for everyone.
I know. It's not easy work, but clearly you are very successful at what you do. Continued success. And really, Dawn, thank you so much for being a guest on the Power of Owning Your Career podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I wish you the best. I think it's a great opportunity for anyone who wants to share their excitement and vision. And I look forward to seeing who your next guest is.
Awesome. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dawn. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Power of Owning Your Career podcast. It is my hope that you enjoyed today's episode. You can check out the show notes for this episode on the SimoneMorrisEnterprises.org website by clicking the podcast menu. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and tell a friend or two about it.